Welcome to Industry Insights with Route Consultant, your front row seat to the fast-moving world of logistics and beyond. Each week, we bring you game-changing insights, real-world strategies, and fresh perspectives to fuel smarter investments and build stronger businesses. Join us as we sit down with expert guests to explore emerging trends and pressing topics across a wide range of industries. This is Industry Insights. Hey everyone, welcome to Industry Insights. This is a special episode that was actually recorded live at the Route Consultant Expo in 2026. We're releasing this over time so that if you weren't at the expo, or if you missed the session, or if you're just catching up, these are all coming out over the course of the year so that you can go back and watch this content and make sure that you see everything that we went over at the expo. Today we're going to hear from me, Josh Gregory, and Andy Willis about why the security space is a smart investment. The way this is going to go, I'm going to have Andy talk some and really give everybody an overview of what this is and what the opportunity is here. And then we're going to have some facilitated Q&A at the end where I'll ask some questions. I have some already, but anyone else who has some, we'll get into that in the end too. So before we get too much farther, I'll just go ahead and kick it over to Andy to introduce himself and explain, why do you know anything about security, Andy?
Okay, hey, glad to be here. Andy Willis. I drove over from Memphis. So, it's a great question. I spent my entire life in the law enforcement and military world, as well as the private security world. My knowledge of how security firms are bought and sold actually comes from experience of buying them while I was already operating sometimes buying them when I wasn't, and selling them. It is a very diverse area. You may or may not like electronic security, but it's a part of security. You can have it or you don't have to have it. You might or might not like managing people. That's another part of security that you can have or not have. The integrated security model that has people and technology all bound up is the ones that are most profitable typically. Does that answer your question? How I'm able to talk about this? Okay. But I will tell you that in the world of buying and selling security firms, the biggest one is typically, outside of publicly traded stuff, is typically in the space where security officers are involved, where security guards stand posts for banks and churches and manufacturing sites and, you name it. And more businesses, they've got a line right on their budget for security. Used to not have to be that way. Now it is, for the most part, a requirement. Insurance companies require it for a lot of different reasons, but mostly for liability reasons. And so companies are hiring security firms more and more to have officers there as at least a preventative measure. So it's a growing industry. It is not an industry for the faint of heart. So if you're thinking about getting into a business where, you think you can just buy it, launch, and leave, this is probably not it. Even if you have qualified folks to run it, you're going to want to keep your eye on the ball. You can grow it and get it big, and then you can let it run on its own. But if you're just getting into this space, you're really going to want to keep your eye on the ball. And again, not for the faint of heart. Security folks, for the most part, have a law enforcement kind of a slant. They are, I'm not going to say rough around the edges, but we are. And for a whole bunch of reasons. If you know much about the security business, you would understand, sometimes it takes a rough approach to deal with rough stuff. And so that's the kind of folks that are in the security officer world. Doesn't mean that they're not great people, because they are. They're putting their life between the bad guys and the interests that are your clients. And so that makes them pretty good, in my opinion. So if you are in the space, anybody here already in the security space? Anybody at all? You are? Can I ask you what market you're in? Just shout it out.
It's on nuclear security.
Okay, all right. So like a G4S kind of a thing, yeah. Nuclear facilities, nuclear plants have very, very high-end security operations. They're one of the few that utilize automatic weapons. Now, I don't know if your security folks do, but I do know that there are automatic weapons associated with nuclear facilities and their protective efforts. So threat detection stuff, you guys do that? Yeah, there you go. Another space inside the security world is threat detection. Threat detection is a really big and up-and-coming science. I can't believe there's not a TV show already about it out there, because it's real. And it is another space within the security industry that will typically be bundled into a security officer operation. You sell that just like you would any other service. A lot of times you sell that for a very, very high price, and you can do it a lot if you've got the right people. A lot of times it's retired Secret Service guys that do that. So what I'd like to talk to you about briefly is, if you're considering getting into this space, I think, based on everything I've seen happening, that there's a coming gold rush. And when I say that, I mean it very specifically about the security officer industry. You may have seen this, you may not have seen it, but the bottom line is there are municipalities, government entities all across the United States that are struggling with hiring law enforcement folks, with recruiting and keeping law enforcement people. What we'll do is, I've got some stats that we'll show you. If we can go ahead and go to the next one. There you go. Agencies, they're all having difficulty finding them. Resignations. Now, that 47% resignation up is what we call voluntary resignations. That's people that have come into the law enforcement world and have said, you know what, forget this. I'm out of here. These aren't people retiring. These are people quitting their job because it's not for them. Retirements are up 19%. So let's go on to the next one. So here's what's happening. These municipalities, they're saying, you know what? There are things that we can hire security firms to do that are not really traditional law enforcement. And it is happening. There are a lot of, Winnetka, Illinois has hired overnight folks to patrol the streets, to get in a patrol car and drive around. Now, that's well above and beyond this handle non-emergency stuff, right? They're armed and they're driving around looking for bad guys. That's about as serious as you'll see it. Go on to the next one, please. There it is right there. 2 armed officers in marked cars. That's because they can't get enough police officers. Go to the next one. Now, oh, you guys took it out. I had a joke in that one. Right up under that Smithers, British Columbia, really tiny font, it said the 51st state. It was supposed to be a joke, but I guess you guys didn't like that.
Not my decision.
That's okay. It's quite all right. Anyway, bottom line is, it's happening in Canada as well. This is not just a phenomena that you're seeing in the United States. Going to the next one. California cities. Now, It's really bad in California. This slide talks about Santa Monica spending $1.7 million for downtown security, that sort of thing. But I will tell you that it's way worse than this. I went to law school in California, and I can tell you that I've got friends there still that will tell you that they're 50% down from their manning mandate inside their police department. And so here's what that means. If you own a security company, it means that your police department has half as many people as they're supposed to have, which means they can't adequately reply to calls for service. There are calls stacking up. And if you want your business to be protected, you're going to have somebody standing there that you're paying specifically to protect your business. Sophisticated business owners know this. Publicly traded companies are, for the most part, across the board, all hiring private security firms because their insurance companies are saying, no, you got to have somebody here. Go ahead to the next one. So that's hello. There we go. It's blinking on me. That's one of the a list of the things that they say are the reasons that they're hiring the security folks to stand in for the police. It's all common sense stuff. The security folks that can do the non-police kinds of things like investigating traffic accidents, taking reports. Somebody stole my credit card and has been making charges at the 7-Eleven. Okay, it doesn't require somebody wearing a gun to go and take that report. So there are a lot of things that private security companies are being asked to do and will be asked to do more and more as we go forward. Next. So here's the deal. Bottom line is, it ain't going away. It's not. This move towards private security working in a public space is growing. It has not matured. It's not even really started. And the reason that I can tell you that is because we see very little about it in the press. There are some press articles out there. Not a lot of them. They're really pretty much reported by law enforcement, rags, magazines, and security magazines. Mainline media hasn't jumped on this yet. What I'm saying is that if you're thinking about getting into the security industry, now is a good time because you want to be ahead of that. You want to be mature. You don't want to try and get into the security business after this starts. You want to be in it. You want to mature. You want to understand it. It is like anything. You have to learn it. And if you're in it as this grows and you're able to fill some of these needs, I would say that women-owned businesses, any minority-owned businesses are going to probably be really poised best as this happens. Not that, everybody can't get in on it, but I'm just saying if you're a lady and you own a business, leverage that. Nothing wrong with that. And that is it for that piece. Question, sir.
And so I think that really helps set the stage. I think a lot of us know and have seen there's definitely a higher stigma around police today, whether it's realities or whether it's just because social media makes certain things feel like realities. It has changed the way people think about the police. And so it does create, a negative connotation when you're thinking about becoming a police officer that I don't think has always been there. So it does open up that gap because no matter what, you still need security. A lot of those gaps still have to be filled. So it does set the stage for this type of industry to really start to grow. So I think there's a couple of different things we can talk about here. But first, let's say somebody is thinking about beginning one of these on their own, not buying one. Is that something that's possible in today's age? And what would that kind of, have you seen somebody do it? What does it look like?
Yes, sure. Yes, you could. You can go out and you can start your own. Just like any of these businesses that are even, I mean, like you talked about, you can hit that FedEx website and find those, bootstrap kinds of things. And you can start your own security firm. If we take just the state of Tennessee as an example, all right, most states have a regulatory framework that you have to comply with. Tennessee is, of course, no exception. In the state of Tennessee, you're going to have what's called a qualifying agent or a qualifying manager. They've changed the name a couple of different times. And that just really is somebody that can either pass a fairly extensive test or has a background that qualifies them to be the person running the contract firm on your behalf. So that could be you. It could also be somebody that you hire. It could be a person that's already a qualifying agent inside the state of Tennessee, or it could be somebody that has just got the requisite experience to be called that in the state of Tennessee. Again, most states are like that. All states, if you're a contract security firm, require general liability insurance. You're not going to get around that. And it basically has to do with how many hours am I going to bill. So they're going to hit you based on how many hours you're going to bill. There's workman's comp. You're going to have guys that have guns. Workman's comp. You're going to pay your workman's comp per 100 because you got guys wearing guns, even if they're not wearing guns. If they're unarmed security people, same thing. The rate is dramatically different, far less, but you still got to pay it. But you can start your own. I would say that unless you've lived in that space or lived in the law enforcement space, not a good idea. And I will also tell you that most security companies are started by these law enforcement guys who've spent a whole career in law enforcement. Their cousin, who owns the store down the street, says, "Man, I know you're getting ready to retire. If you just start a security company, I'll hire you." And it gives him this great idea that, hey, man, I can make a lot of money in the security business. So what he does is he goes and he gets his qualifying agent designation. He finds an insurance company that will write him a general liability policy, and he goes to work for his cousin. And he's got, 2 or 3 people maybe that work with him, and he tries to get more clients. If he doesn't reach this level of hours that he needs to cover the cost of that general liability insurance, he's going in the hole. Most of the time you're going in the hole. It's not inexpensive insurance, as you might imagine. They are insuring that people they don't know aren't going to do things to hurt other people. That's what the GL is basically for. And so if you have really deep pockets and staying power and want to start your own, yes, you could.
Yeah.
It's staying power, though.
But yeah, and I think even if you have that background, it can be difficult, like you're saying, because it's to get to that initial threshold can be the tough part.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, if you're looking at somebody who already is running one of these, how often do you see it where an acquisition means that you're bringing that person on as your qualifying agent? Do you see people, is that a typical pattern there?
Yes, most of the time. In fact, the scenario I just painted for you happens a lot. And what happens is, Bob starts his little firm and he grows it a little bit because he does know some people. He spent a whole career in this town and he knows some businesses and he gets some contracts because they all like Bob and they think he's a good guy. And he grows his company, but he's exhausted from the first 3 or 4 years of running this thing, and he is ready to get out. I will tell you that for every guy that has ever started one of those like that, there's a guy that wants to sell it. Because at some point or another, they are exhausted with the churn of hiring people, getting qualified people to work, clients that, they want to beat you up on price or whatever it is. And so the guy that is running it like that can step in and doesn't necessarily want to get out. He just doesn't want to own it anymore. He's tired of that fear factor that he lives with all the time.
And I think, from what you've told me before too, it's these guys that have a desire to be in this industry and have a background in law enforcement, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're good business operators.
Usually they're they're not.
And so they may have done the work to generate the customers,
right,
but not necessarily ever done the good job of, focusing on margins and running a successful business. So they are looking for somebody to help them. And I think that's where we see it. So, it's a world where, let's say you can come in, take over a business that has been built properly, and then turn around and restructure the kind of operating environment for profitability.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the other thing that can happen is you can do that. You can go and you can buy that single firm, get a little experience with it, understand it a little bit as you move along, call Josh up again and say, hey man, you know what? We need to buy 5 more of these in this market. Because as a business person, you're going to pretty quickly see, what that level is that you need it to be. You're gonna crunch the numbers, unlike the law enforcement guy, Bob, we talked about, who is a technician with an entrepreneurial twitch. He's not a businessman, great guy, but he's not a businessman. Businessman looks at all that stuff on the front end. You're going to see that, and you're going to then probably say, hey, you know what? Let's see if we can buy 3 or 4 of these to add. That's a great way to get to the number that you need to be.
Yeah, and especially once you've been in it, you can kind of know what a price should be and the right kind of offers to bring to other people in the market, and you've already got the kind of resources to take it to the next step. Can you talk a little bit about, what do these businesses look like in size, like revenue and, number of employees? Like what are I think we've talked about it in the past, kind of a number to shoot for in terms of the number of hours. That's like a golden number. But what does a business of that size look like?
Yeah, so it's interesting. The golden number that you're looking for typically in a just regular security officer firm to be really profitable and to be able to say, hey, I have arrived at making a successful business is 10,000 hours a week. It sounds like a lot. But it's really, if you think about each week has 168 hours in it. So you're going to have a whole bunch of these that are, 3 shifts, 10 at a manufacturing facility. You got 10 people, 3 shifts. Well, that's 1,680 hours, right? I mean, pretty quickly it adds up. It doesn't take a lot of clients to get to that 10,000 hour mark. But that is the sweet spot that most operators will say, hey man, I want to get to 10,000 hours because, that's where I know I can coast a little bit from a profitability perspective.
And what does that end up looking like in terms of number of employees, revenue? Like do you know, like in a year, like the range of what those look like?
I'm going to answer like you answered in the first session. That depends on where you are, the region, the city, the industry. If you are protecting nuclear facilities, your bill rate is a lot different than if you're protecting 7-Elevens, right? I mean, let's think about it. It's that risk-reward thing. But let's just play that out simply. Let's just say that you only make $4 an hour of profit before taxes, et cetera, before EBITDA. I mean, and if you've got 10,000 hours, that's 40 grand a week as, your top line profit number. So that's not a bad number when you get to that stage. Can it be better? Yeah, it should be better. You should grow it. I mean, the firm that I owned in Memphis several years ago before I sold it, we were doing about $6 million a year in revenue, which is a small company in the security business. I mean, it really is. There are even bad companies in Memphis that make a lot more than that. I like to pride us on we were really high end, so we didn't have as many hours as a lot of those guys. But you can, it's pretty simple math. It's a cost of a person per hour plus all of their loaded expense, and you load that expense with, all of the insurances that are required, and you'll know. I mean, it's not voodoo stuff. It really is quite simple.
Yeah, and so the thing that's really fascinating for me is that as we talk, I see that there's this opportunity in the space. There's a lot of gaps that need to be filled, and essentially, if you don't have people applying for police jobs, it has to be filled by whoever can. And what we're seeing is there's a lot of people that aren't doing it well, but they're still getting hired because they're the only option. Like those. So I think I continue to see a big opportunity for those who can come in and run these businesses effectively to really have a lot of success in a space that is only continuing to grow. So as I'm thinking about it, if I'm looking at this space, I hear that, but it still just feels scary if I'm not in security. Like, what's the feeling? How do you kind of get over that feeling of how do I get into a space like this that I don't know anything about? Is it enough just to know that the person who's coming on from the previous company knows a lot? Hey guys, we just wanted to pause for a moment to invite you to our free events that are happening throughout the year. Whether you're just getting started in the logistics industry or you're looking to optimize your current operation, Route Consultant has events that are designed specifically for you. So head on over to routeconsultant.com/events or check out our show notes to register for free today. Also, while you're here, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Industry Insights with Route Consultant podcast so that you don't miss out on the stories, the advice, and the updates that are happening throughout the industry. We appreciate you being here and hope to meet you in person soon. Now let's get back to the episode. Like, how do I kind of, if you're bringing on somebody as your agent, how do I kind of cross that fear gap of this is still not something I'm not in law enforcement, but I see a financial opportunity here. How do I kind of cross that?
That's really a great question. I would say that the very best way is during a due diligence phase, when you're out there looking at this stuff, spend time with security officers that are actually outstanding a post and talk to them and ask them about their job. Ask them why they do that job. Ask them about what they do. Get a sense of how they feel about their industry, and then ask them the hard questions that are running through your mind. Hey, do you know, has your company ever been sued? That's a great question to ask. Have you ever been sued? I mean, and what was it for? Security industry, the security industry will many times be embroiled in a lawsuit because the business gets sued over something. Even if it's a slip and fall, it doesn't matter. You're going to be named. Guess what? General liability takes care of that. Your insurance company, you don't have to mess with that stuff. Even if your person does something that, is considered to be negligent, your insurance company is going to deal with that for you. Doesn't mean that you don't need to make some changes and that sort of thing, but it does mean that they're going to handle it for you. So, going out there and talking to those people that are actually doing the work is a great way to get a sense of whether or not you've got the stomach for it. I mean, look, everybody does not. I mean, I'm married to somebody who does not. My wife does not like the security industry. I've spent my whole life in it. That's probably why. But, so not everybody can tolerate it.
Yeah, and I think that's important. Like, we don't want you, it's the same as we say about all the spaces. We don't want you, just because the numbers make sense, to jump into something for the next 10 years.
Right.
So I think that is important. Another thing I think that could be helpful, can you just kind of walk through, if you're an owner of one of these, what does day-to-day look like?
Oh, there you go. That's great. So day-to-day, if you are, let's say you're working it. Let's say you're actually out there working it. recruiting is nonstop. You're always recruiting. I'll tell you something I used to do, and this was really, it turned out to be wildly successful. Even though I had a GM working for me who was running the day-to-day in operations, and he's great, that's Mitchell. Every time I would go to a place, like walking in here today, I saw a bunch of security people. I watch them. I look at them. I see what they're doing. If you're sitting in a restaurant and there's security people, look at them. You want to watch them. And if you see somebody that's conducting themselves well, you walk up to them, you pull out your business card, and you say, hey, I've been watching you, man. You're pretty sharp looking. I mean, how long have you been doing this? I own a security company. If you ever want to make a change, give me a call. That's really all you need to do, and you walk off. And you will get a return on that. I didn't think I would. I did, more times than not. Even if it was just a call to say, they would say, well, how much are you paying? Are you paying more than I'm currently making? You know. So that's, day to day is recruiting. I mean, it really is. That's your biggest thing. Managing the money, all that stuff. Yes, if that's what you do, if you're a money manager for a business, then you're going to do that. That's going to come natural to you. That's not but recruiting is going to be your big thing. You're looking for qualified candidates. If you're a salesperson, then you're going to be out beating the path to add clients. There's today, sales is so dramatically different than it was when I was initially doing the security business. We used to have to go out and talk to people face to face. Now, man, with social media and all this other stuff, 3/4 of that sales process is done before I ever go see anybody. So I'm going to say that your day-to-day in this industry, the biggest part of it is recruiting and vetting good people. And I'll tell you this, don't take the shortcuts. You got to fill that slot. Don't take the shortcut. You'll be tempted to say, yeah, he'll do. Yeah, don't do it.
It's one of those things we say, you should obviously never take shortcuts when you're hiring anybody. Recruiting always matters, but it is doubly important when you're thinking about the people that you're hiring and the things that they're protecting and the potential risk of if they don't. So I think it's a valid point that it is you're always recruiting in a lot of businesses, but this is one where you're always trying to find the right people if
that's
you want your business to be successful. Yeah, that's all you got.
Yeah, that's your product. People. Yeah.
When something goes wrong, is it you who handles it, or do you have you said a GM? What's the crisis resolution?
So it depends on what it is. I mean, if it's a big thing, I don't know, something crazy happens at a bank, there's a shooting, that sort of thing, reach out to your attorney first, get your talking points, and then show up. Don't not show up. If you've got a GM that you think can handle it and you're confident they're going to say the right things, that's fine. Typically, you need to show up. Again, you get those talking points from your attorney before you show up. Other things that happen, problems and that sort of thing, you're going to deal with them like you would any other business. If you've got personnel issues, sometimes it's appropriate for your GM to jump on that. Sometimes you need to insert yourself. I will say that being an effective leader, a real leader, being a real leader strangely means loving your people. I know that sounds crazy coming from a cop type, but it is the truth. True leadership is loving your people. It's not about beating them into submission or any of that. It's about, and I'll tell you just from a military perspective, loving your people will cause those that you lead to follow you anywhere. It's the truth. As long as and it's not because you tell them you love them, it's because that you demonstrate it. When their daughter is sick and in the hospital and you show up. When their wife has a car accident and you've got a spare car sitting around and you say, you know what, borrow this until the insurance company takes care of it. Those are the things that make a difference in handling people. And look, again, the biggest part of the security industry is people. I've just finished writing a book. It is not ready yet, but lots of sections on how to effectively lead. And I will tell you that inside this industry, that concept it was a 3-star general that taught me that, a guy named Jerry Boykin. He just said, Andy, love your men. If you love them right, they're going to know it. They'll follow you anywhere. That guy taught me he said, there's only one rule to leadership. I said, pardon me, General, there's a whole library of books on it. He said, there's one rule to leadership. Love your men. And he was right. He was. And so that kind of leadership will stop lots of those problems internally. Most of your problems come from people. So.
And I think something too that, we talked about it at the beginning, like there's a lot of options in this space because whether they have it now or are realizing they need to have security, most companies are adding it. So there is some amount of, if I want to get into the security space, I get to kind of choose what risk level types of businesses I want to protect. Like maybe I'm afraid of protecting banks. And so I don't choose that as my clientele. There's different parts of the space. Obviously, the higher risk area that you're willing to protect, the more money you can make. But you do get that option. As if we know that there are significant needs and gaps that need to be filled, I can structure a business where I'm only taking clients that fit the risk level I'm comfortable with. And so I do think that that's attractive as well.
That's exactly right.
One of the things we haven't really touched on, when you're talking about customers and how they pay you, is it contracts? Is it, what does that look like?
Yeah, it's a contract. It's always a contract. You never work for anybody without a contract, ever. I mean, not your cousin. Never work for anybody without a contract. And the reason for that, like I've always heard, and it's the truth, contracts aren't for when the times are good, they're for when times are bad. And you want to just have that as your guideline. So yes, they're all about contracts. They're negotiated up front. And with respect to getting paid, I will tell you that there are lots of experiences. I will tell you that on the technology side of one of the big companies I used to own, FedEx was one of my biggest customers. They were also one of the worst customers for paying me. They would have me $2 million over 90 out there forever. Now, that was my fault. That was my fault for not having a contract that had teeth in it. So make sure you have contract. And a lot of these entities now, you can. It's easy for you to go out and do credit checks on businesses. Probably, I don't want to tell you how to do that because you already know, I'm sure. But you want to check their pay record. You want to know, do these people pay? And a friend of mine in Memphis that still owns part of the company I used to own, he's got built into virtually every contract that he has 7 days. You're going to pay me within 7 days of this invoice. And the reason for that is, he's gotten strung out before. Those contracts that you start seeing a pay problem with, you're gonna see them quickly and you're gonna get out of them quickly. You're gonna have stuff built into those contracts that allow you to stop delivering service. One of the biggest mistakes security operators make is saying, oh, they're gonna pay me. And they just keep sending security guards out there to stand that post. They're gonna pay me, they're gonna pay me, they're gonna pay me, and they never pay you. and you are really out there on a limb because you've paid, this is one of those industries that's pay first. You're going to pay your people because they're out there working. You're going to be 30 days typically getting your money. So you want to make sure that you've got a good, strong contract and just work for companies that are good. There's nothing wrong with firing a customer. Nothing wrong with that. Fire them. If they're a bad customer, tell them they're fired. Sorry, we're not working for you anymore.
Yeah, I think that I'll leave it there for my questions. I think that this is a space where I've seen it a lot, and especially from some of the stories you've told me of people who have gotten in and know that it's an industry they're excited about, but haven't run it properly. And so I know whether it's businesses that we have for sale or others we've seen on the market, there's a lot of opportunity because the price isn't super high because of the thin margins a lot of these guys are running, where they just need somebody to come in and enable them to keep doing the job that they like, but take the parts that they don't want to do.
That's exactly right.
And then beyond just growing and improving the existing business, like you said earlier, for every one of the guys just like that are selling, there's 10 others in the area that feel the exact same way but don't see a way out.
That's
and
right.
So that's a lot of what we're trying to do is show people this is an opportunity, whether you're law enforcement or not,
Yeah.
and also help people step into the space and realize that there's ways to continue to grow past it.
There are a lot of those really small companies out there that are security companies that the operator he goes home every night and he's panicked. Am I going to make payroll next week? How am I going to pay the taxes? The payroll taxes that I got to pay, all that stuff. They're all going home and they're concerned about it. And, unless they have a big giant pot of money somewhere, and most of them do not, most of them are willing to sell their companies. They don't know how to do it. They don't have a clue. And so that's why companies like RC that have the ability to effectively do the analysis and marketing for small firms, guys that are Bob, who's wanting to get out. It's a good option for investors. It's a good option for investors to go to companies like RC in order to find those small companies, make the purchase, get some experience, and then start looking for that saturation level of hours that they need.
All right, does anyone else have any questions now that I've asked all of mine? I think we got one here. Run, Kim.
Hi, thank you. So in the contracting arena, is there a thing where y'all deal with invoicing or any type of factoring with that contract?
Wow. Okay. So factoring. I've done that. I did that a long time ago. So invoicing is a part of the contract, obviously. There's, if you're smart, you've got an interest component that's built into it if they're not paid. But factoring, is there anybody here that does not understand what factoring is? So factoring is just selling your invoices for cash now so you can continue to operate. Typically there is not a prohibition from a client to sell them. So, right. So factoring is, for what happens is if you're factoring your invoices, that factoring company is, of course, they're going to go out and look at that client of yours. And if they determine that they're creditworthy, they're going to advance you the funds just like they would anybody. But they also can tell you, hey, man, we're not going to give you any money on them because they don't pay anybody, which means they wouldn't pay us. So you can use them as your investigator. Any other questions? Okay.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the information. So, in the beginning, you talked about that there is definitely a market. So, do you guys have security businesses for sale?
Ask Brig. Brig actually wasn't here. He stepped out. But if you're looking for answers on that, it's him. I actually don't know what our inventory is. I've stepped out of that, but but yes, Brig on our team is who would handle it. Yeah.
He can get with you afterwards. I don't work for them, so I'm just a
the guy who
friend
knows
of the
everything.
family. My son works for this company, so that's how I. Yes, ma'am.
So I have a friend who has a security company. He's been doing it for 30 years, but he's in the entertainment industry. And I was letting him know that he need to diversify because all of his eggs are in one basket.
10% rule.
How does one begin to navigate to other clients, such as the ones that you had in your business?
Yeah, that's
What does
great.
that look
That's
like?
it's a great question and a good point to make. In business, there's that whole thing. It's called the 10% rule. You never want more than 10% of your clients to be, the same person or even really the same industry if you can get away from it. Because as FedEx knows, if something bad happens, you're in trouble. The thing for them to do is to leverage that business using the clients that they already have. Those clients are going to already probably be diversified. And they need to say, hey, what do you own? The people they're protecting, the people that they're shuttling around, that sort of thing. Ask them what they own and say, you own a string of convenience stores? You got any security guards? Yes, we do. Yeah. Well, how about hiring our company to do that? I suspect if they've got a good book of business in that area, those people that they're protecting typically have a high net worth, and they have a high net worth not just because they're in the entertainment district or entertainment business, but because they've got smart people that are diversifying and putting them into other businesses. If they trust your friend, ask him to trust them in those businesses. Now that keeps them in one client or one set of clients, but it will spread that out a good bit across different industries. And once they've got that experience, if for whatever reason, they'll get seen by other kinds of businesses.
So he's a military vet.
Okay, great.
So I was telling him he needed to leverage that as well.
He does. I mean, I'm assuming that he has that in his advertising material and that sort of thing. He
He
needs
doesn't.
to. Yeah,
I've been trying to get him to put that into his
Yeah,
advertising.
he should. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, because one of the hardest things is in the space is crafting good people, and so if he already has good people, regardless of the industry, those are people and personnel that he can use to get into other parts of this industry. And the hardest way to expand is if people don't know you. And so if anyone he can use that can give any kind of good word that he's used as a client in the past can open up a lot of doors.
That's
Just because
exactly right.
this is a
Yeah.
trust-based industry. You're protecting them. So if you have anybody, that's significantly easier than somebody trying to start fresh and trying to just create a brand. So if he has good clients, it's going to be more about just who is he going to go. He just has to ask some of the good clients he's had in the past, or who else they know, what
Yeah.
other opportunities they have. Yep.
That's right. Yeah, look, word of mouth is the biggest thing. And if he's got a good base of business there, he needs to use their word of mouth to help him. And from a military perspective, I will tell you also, I typically don't go ahead and say this, but you brought it up. When you're hiring folks, it has been my experience, and of course I'm biased as well, I was an officer in the Air Force, so I love the military. Typically, military folks are great candidates for security. They already have a lot of the background that's important for them to understand chain of command, to understand, duty, honor, all that stuff. So those are great folks to look at. Look at them hard and recruit hard there.
Okay. We'll do one there, and those will be three. We got 3 questions
Okay.
left. That I'm
Go
going to
ahead.
hold it off. Yeah.
What are the most common contracts that you have? Are they for a length of time, or what are the most common ones?
So most contracts are what we call annual contracts, and you put an evergreen clause in them, which just means they're going to roll to another year unless they cancel it. Also, most contracts have a cancellation clause in them. If there's a if they have a reason to cancel, 30 days, they're out. Same thing for you. You can do the same thing on your end. You have that same capability. Yeah. Bilateral. Yes, sir.
Hey, how you doing, David in Florida?
David.
For your general liability insurance for security, are they requesting policy procedures?
If you're brand new, they're going to want everything. They're going to look at everything. They're going to look at your contract.
Are there certain specific providers?
There are. There's a whole group of them that's what they do. General liability for security firms. Yes, there are. So
And let's say you have a marked security vehicle. Is that insurance also covering that, or would you have to go to another provider for vehicle insurance?
no, typically your GL companies are going to write that auto policy as well.
Thank you.
They're going to want it bundled together. And you're going to have an umbrella above all this anyway. You're going to have an umbrella policy above all that. Go ahead.
Okay, say we're listening to you guys. We're intrigued by this and want to learn more about this industry. Like, what's the next step? Who do we talk to? Where do you recommend going?
Brig on our team is the person I would point you to.
Where's Brig?
I think he's at the booth.
He has
yeah.
Scotland? Yeah.
Yeah. But there's further conversations we could have coming off of it based on where you are, like what size, and we can walk you through all of that.
Where are you from?
St. Louis area.
Okay. Man,
Plenty of-
St.
plenty of
Louis
need.
has got an
Yeah,
interesting.
exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
plenty of need in St. Louis. Yeah.
Well, and St. Louis is very interesting. What's the bank called now? It's Regions.
Yeah, Regions.
Before Regions, it was Union Planners. Union Planners used to exist up there, and we had the contract for all of them. And we went up there, and I will tell you that St. Louis has a police union that has a pretty strong stranglehold on the security industry for the high-end stuff. Now, I haven't seen that in recent years, but I do know that St. Louis is also struggling with getting police officers.
Yes.
Which just means that those guys that are already police officers are being forced to do what's called mandatory overtime. They're holding them over on their shifts and making them work more. So those guys are not working private security. So probably a great place
Yeah,
to
and
do
I know,
security.
I know a bunch of those guys. So
Okay. Yeah.
awesome. Thank you.